originally from Syria. I was born there, but I grew up in the US. I would spend, my summers in Syria, and for many years I've been working with various different refugee communities. And, since the war started in Syria, I've been more focused on that issue, just by virtue of being Syrian myself and feeling like I can have a bigger impact there. I moved to Ireland 2 years ago, and not long after I got involved with Refugee and Migrant Solidarity Ireland because I really liked their approach to this issue.
Refugee and Migrant Solidarity Ireland started in, I think it was like September 2015, under the name Dublin Calais Refugee Solidarity, and it was initially a group of people who I suppose were appalled at the situation in northern France, in Calais, and the violence of the French state and the British state and Europe in general, and the way in which the border between France and UK was hurting and in some cases killing people.
I went over and was working in a women's centre teaching English, and working in warehouses and trying to sort donations, and other people did like medical work and building and legal work, things like that, just general support.
And we began to realise that while we had a very kind of outward looking approach to what was happening there, we weren't really looking at the borders and walls that existed in our own community and in Ireland that are created by direct provision. We started to look more at what was happening here, and started to collaborate more with MASI, Movement of Asylum Seekers Ireland, and start to kind of challenge the separation and the, I suppose, walls within our own community.
I originally come from South Africa. I've been in this country for the past 4 years. I lived in Direct Provision Center in Cork for the duration of my time being here. I recently got my residency in October of 2016. I am an activist and a campaigner for the end of direct provision. I've been involved with a group called MASI, which is a movement of asylum seekers in Ireland, which was formed by asylum seekers. I also have been involved with the group RAMSI. We collaborate to better the lives of those that are in need. We believe that it is important that people, must know what is direct provision and what's going on within direct provision, which is a system that is put in place here in Ireland that houses people that have seek for asylum. They are placed in hostels and deprived of the right to work, to study, or to cook their own meals. They are hidden. The hostels are not visible to people. And the most challenging thing that people face is the lack of activities in these centers. Half the time, I get questions from people. What do you mean about end direct provision? It's simple. Give people the right to work. People must live in society and be allowed to study. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that you don't want to accept other people to come in. Ireland must accept people to come in, but treat them as human beings, not as piece of paper or a number.
It was really important for us from the start that the group is based on like this non-hierarchical structure and is quite open, and everyone can take part and bring new ideas and shape the group in different ways, as a way of like envisioning how we want the world to be, and not based on hierarchies and a more strict structure. Keeping our ethos going was through the events we decided to do, like awareness raising or like creative things, and then with the dinners where it's not like too political and scary, but we can still, I think the kind of ideas are spreading.
RAMSI really started to grow once we started our solidarity dinners, and the idea at first we wanted to do like, I don't know if they use this phrase in Ireland, like potluck, like everyone brings a dish and then we all donate like €5 each to an organization that works with asylum seekers and refugees and migrants. And then it started to grow and grow, and then we had this idea of like, well, why are we doing it just with ourselves? Like, it would be nice if we opened it up to people who lived in direct provision. And it's really great because it gives people living in direct provision a chance to meet local Irish people and vice versa. And we really saw the Irish community step up, whether it's like bringing food or actually going to the direct provision centres and picking people up. And then we have musicians, local musicians play music and we dance, and it's really nice for that kind of community building. And a lot of asylum seekers, for their cases, need to show some connection to Ireland, so I think this helps facilitate that. And then through the solidarity dinners we got a lot more volunteers, and they've kind of run off with their own projects, such as like English classes in direct provision or music classes. And then, like, for example, I started an Arabic conversation class. This past January I was in Greece, and I was walking in a refugee camp, and I was meeting different Syrian families who are from, you know, parts of Syria that I might have visited or gone to. And I had this like realization that had my parents not left in 1991, then I would have been living in these camps right now. You know, I wouldn't be living in Ireland, because there's nothing special about my family that would have made us exempt had we remained in Syria. And it just made me think on like a bigger scale when I came back to Ireland that like there's nothing that separates every single person here from being someone living in a refugee camp or being someone living in direct provision. It's just kind of like the way the world's structured. It obviously privileges some people over others, but you just don't know, like, everything can change in a second. It's not like people have this wrong assumption. I know for Syria that, like, or the Middle East, that it's always in a state of war, but that's not true. There's causes. It didn't happen. It's not the state of being for these people. They had normal lives before, and then their whole lives were flipped upside down. And so what makes us so special or different from them? And if we don't like fight or act now or speak up now, you know, then it could be our turn, and also we become a part of the problem. We shouldn't talk about them as if they're like another set of race or creature or something. They're of us and we're of them.
A really good way for people to get involved is by coming to the dinners. We do them once a month at the moment, usually over the weekend in the afternoon. People who haven't been involved can come, and if they want to bring a dish to share they can, or else just come to eat and talk to people. Someone from MASI always speaks at the dinners to tell people about direct provision and share personal experiences of seeking asylum and facing state racism in Ireland.
These dinners don't just have to happen in Dublin here in Jigsaw. They can happen anywhere really, and you know, we didn't have any particular like special skills or abilities to run them. Like anyone can do them. So if people are interested in trying to start one somewhere else, like, please get in contact with us.
Mm-hmm.
The dinners are just a starting point of getting people together. There's one other thing also that we are working on now, which is International Protection Act. We want the IPO, which is the International Protection Officer, to make it difficult to deny an asylum seeker the right to remain in the state. Through information, that's all. Through information, we want people to have strong case so that the IPO must look for somewhere else to say no to an asylum seeker.
A mighty person is somebody who brings action to empathy. like whose ultimate driving force is love and empathy they feel for others, and that forces them to act to bring a positive impact in the world, while at the same time also knowing when to take a step back as well, and having that sensitivity. Acting doesn't always mean being on the front of the picket line, but it might also mean taking a step back and listening with like an open heart and open mind.
People who in their daily lives and by coming together are trying to act on that empathy and kindness to create a more just world for all of us.
Anyone who defies the idea that we're all individuals and self-interested, and behaves in a way that like shows they believe that we're all connected and together, and love is more important than individual self-interest. I think that's a mighty person, in my opinion.
Right. To me, a mighty person is an ordinary person that does extraordinary things.